Hi, Hemanth.
Hi, Shanti.
So this is your third demo of Docker or what?
Yes,
Okay, so today you are doing a two-tier architecture setup with
correct.
images,
Yes,
Docker images.
yes,
You are using Docker file also for automation.
yes.
Okay, okay. Go ahead.
So today we'll use Docker to basically launch WordPress with SQL on um, with the help of YAML file. So I've used a prompt to generate code snippet to start off and worked on it to make sure that is working for this demo. And also use some other Docker official websites to understand some of those commands, some properties, how they work, and so come up to basically to have this proper demo. So this is the architecture that we have. So we have two services and a YAML file. One to basically deploy WordPress, a open source content manager, um, and also the background to store the details of the website, any data will be using MySQL. So both will be deployed into each container separately. And from the command line, will trigger the Docker commands to basically create these images and containers for us. So as a prerequisite for this, we'll have Visual Studios, which we will use it to write our configuration file in the YAML document. And um, we also have Python because we just used for the previous demos. Um, and access to Docker Hub along with installation of Docker desktop on the local machine and access to either PowerShell or command line interface to execute the commands. So these are the steps that we'll be following. Um, some screenshots as part of this demo about running the um, containers, capturing the images. So you can see those here. So this is a YAML file, which has two services that will be deployed in the Docker, each with different ports. And also WordPress is dependent on MySQL, which is another service. That means even before we deploy WordPress, we are telling Docker to have MySQL first and then deploy WordPress. And I also given the names for the containers here, WordPress and WordPress CMS, and here MySQL database. And I'm also reading the credentials for root password from environment variable, which is in the other file um, for security reasons. So I have striked out those. So here we are creating Docker images for this. We have a screenshot here which shows those images are created. Once the images are created and the containers are up and running, we can use this command to basically see them. Earlier, I didn't give any container name. That's why Docker generated an automated container ID for this two Docker instances or Docker containers. We can see the port number on which they're running. We can see WordPress is running on localhost 8080, and for MySQL, it's running on 3306. So once you launch this WordPress, you will once we launch the localhost URL, once both containers are up and running, and there's no SQL connection errors, you should be able to see the screen allowing us to select the language. and provide some credentials. This window came up because we had we are picking up these values from the configuration file. So once you provide, it will allow us to install the WordPress. When the installation is complete, we should be able to see this landing page for WordPress. Okay. So now we will execute the same from the command line. So for this, we'll use Docker compose command to create these instances, containers for us. And we'll also run this in the background, that we use an D for that, so that once the containers are up and running, we can get back our command and we can continue the remaining tasks that are required. So in the background, you can see for this project, we have two files, one YAML file and environmental. So once the uh, uh, these two services are pulled and all the dependency files are received, it will generate another WordPress data folder for us, which will have all the dependency files, the configurations that are required for this application to run. So because we have multiple containers, you can run these containers either using Docker file, or you can also use Docker compose YAML file. So if it's a multi-container, this is more preferable, and it will help us to manage multiple services from one file. So we can hear you also mentioning the volume. So volumes is basically telling where to mount the data related to these two services. So that means tomorrow, if there's a need, if we stop or restart our containers, the data related to the containers would still be persistent when we have these volumes mounted. So that's one benefit of having this. Okay, my SQL pull is completed, and we are waiting for the WordPress. Okay, now it's creating the network. So network is something that helps us talk, have a connection or communication between different containers. By default, it will be bridge. That means the Docker host would have separate part of network, and that containers would be also part of different network. So they'll be working in an isolated environment from the Docker host. Okay, the installation is complete. We can see the two containers have started. So we'll go to the Docker desktop and verify the same. Okay. We can see the container is up and running. So under this WordPress demo, we are seeing these two containers, MySQL database and WordPress CMS. So we'll go ahead and launch WordPress. Okay, maybe on this port, there's already some other process running. Let me check. This Prometheus running. I can stop this. Okay, let me try launching again. Okay. Error empty response. Localhost didn't send any data. Okay, let me look at the logs. This is fine. Okay. I'm looking for any errors in the MySQL DB service. Okay, nothing in here. I don't see any errors in the WordPress as well. Oh, now it was able to. I think it just took a time. Okay. Okay, I'll close this. So here, WordPress allows us to select almost from 60 different languages to configure. So I'm keeping it default, which is English. Okay, now it's allowing us to give some credentials for DBs. Okay, let's say WordPress. Localhost should be MySQL. Table prefix is basically auto-generated by the WordPress for security reasons. So I'm not changing that. And let's try. Okay, it's saying everything is okay. We'll run the installation now. User site title will say Docker demo. Username, I'll still give an admin. So it basically is giving some strong password. So I'll try to save this. If you have to log in again, so I won't want to change this. Okay. provide your email ID. I will say discourage, install WordPress. So this would basically make some changes onto the config Docker config file, which will have those confidential information related to the login credentials. We'll copy that new password. Okay, so now we're able to launch um, the WordPress from our container. So from here, we have an option to create our own web page, host something onto the internet. So this is the file. So we can go back to our command prompt and verify the same to see all the containers that are up and running. So we can see the two container IDs, one for SQL, one for WordPress. They just created 7 minutes ago, and they're running on these ports. So this is a demo, Shanti, that I wanted to do today.
Okay. Right. Your WordPress site is a public IP or private?
It's private still. I haven't assigned any IP
Okay.
address to it.
Fine. So you created the blog and tested it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Fine. I'll stop the recording.
Okay.